Back to the preview show. I'm Casey Campbell, Great Lakes Post with you. Of course, pleased to be joined by Nathan Solomon of The Podium Finish, Empire Sports Media, and he's a proud Bonnie.
Bonnie's, baby.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, all you Podium Finish people are the Bonnies. Have you ever covered from the Rangers loss last night, bud?
You know, it's good. I have high hopes for this season, but we're not off to a good start. 0-2. Got some work to do.
Your Jets, your Yankees, your Rangers. Are you a Knicks fan?
Yes, I'm a Knicks fan. That's the one thing we got going right now.
Yeah, and then they'll start doing things. So who knows? But anyway, a jam-packed weekend for Texas Motor Speedway. I'm pretty sure you know everything that happened last week at the Roval, but we'll not get into that because why not? But that we will ask about. I don't know if you got a chance to watch this, but this next gen kind of test. Of course, that was the last Monday, Tuesday thing. What were your overall impressions of it? I got a chance to watch it, and you know, it was fun being out there. It looks like it's a road course kind of car, but you know, there's still obviously some concerns, and they got like 5 million other tests they still got to do.
Yeah, I was watching a little bit of it. I think, I'm excited to see what happens with this new car. I think I like what the drivers are saying. They're saying it's a lot harder to drive, and I think that's one of the issues with the current car in the Cup Series. And I think to an extent they're kind of too easy to drive. So I mean, guys are coming in and they're saying that that they're a handful, like they're really difficult to drive. So I think that's going to make for a lot of excitement, especially next year when guys are really trying to figure out the car. But like you mentioned, there's a lot of kinks they got to work out. There's a lot of issues. There's the whole heating issue. I know it was cooler in Charlotte this past week, so it wasn't really as much of an issue with the temperature inside the car. I know some guys were talking about a really bad steering vibration that they need to work out, but they've got plenty of time. I think they have 3 more open tests, and then I think they have another 2 or 3 Goodyear tire tests before Speed Week. So they'll have another half a dozen opportunities to work out some of these issues. But I'm excited for it. The car sounds great. It's different than what we've ever heard before, and I forgot who said it. But in a sense, it is kind of like a sports car. Like, it kind of has a feel and the sound of a sports car, but of course, it is a stock car. I'm definitely the one thing that I'm not sold on. I don't know about you, but I'm not sold on the one lug nut for each tire.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, the thing is with that, I know that of course we know IndyCar does the one lug nut on the car. Of course, I don't know. Well, there's still some things we got to work on. The heat's a concern. Obviously the safety of the car is always a concern, no matter how it is. It's always will be a concern, no matter how much, because racing is dangerous, in case you haven't noticed. So gonna be an interesting few months. I know they're gonna be at Phoenix testing. They'll be I think on the Charlotte Oval. They're gonna be at Daytona again. They're gonna be at Bowman Gray to test out for the LA Coliseum. They'll also be on one of the dirt tracks to test the Bristol dirt. So yeah, a lot of tests going to be happening, and of course, as you mentioned, the Goodyear tire tests as well. Lots of silly season news too. Let's start with this. I'll run these down because there's been a lot of them this week. Lois Hernsman's, God, I hope I said that right. There's a new team that's forming, Team Hisenberg or something. I really hope I said that right. They'll be starting a new team, road course kind of thing. How exciting is that? And possibly the return of Jacques Villeneuve.
I know. Road course is gonna be a lot of fun next year. I think we're down 1 road course from this year, so we're gonna have 6 on the schedule next year. But I think they're gonna come right out and they're gonna be really competitive. I think they had very reasonable times at the test on Monday and Tuesday. They seem to have some speed, and it sounds like if all goes well, next year they could go full time in 2023. So of course the issue is charters. There's only 36 charters and only a few teams that are buying and selling every year. So it's very difficult to secure, but they're definitely going to make road course racing a little bit more interesting next year.
Road course racing is always interesting, so we'll make it more interesting. Other news, terms of sponsorship, Whelen will be sponsoring Sheldon Creed's Xfinity ride for next season. So good stuff there for RCR. GMS confirmed that Ty Dillon will be driving full time for the team. Yes, Ty Dillon is back in Cup, and GMS Racing is in the Cup Series. Not sure if they're going to have a charter, but overall, what do you like about Ty Dillon's back?
I think that it's good for the sport. I think that GMS is going to come right in, and they're going to be in a spot where they can be able to compete right away. They said in the press conference on Sunday that they signed a technical alliance with RCR.
Yep.
So they're going to have very competitive equipment right to start. It's probably the most competitive equipment Ty Dillon's driven on a full-time basis. So that's good for him. He's going to get an opportunity that he deserves. And they're saying on Sunday though, GMS, that with them going Cup racing, it's going to have, I guess as a company for them, it's going to have their drawbacks. They said they're going to downsize to just 3 truck teams. They're going to have 1 ARCA team, but overall, of course, it's a Cup series that makes the most money for teams. So I expect GMS is going to come right out and be competitive and have a chance to win races.
Yeah, and of course, there's going to be more announcements regarding GMS in the next few weeks. So stay tuned for them. Speaking of alliances, Rick Ware Racing has an alliance. They just signed a technical alliance with Stewart Haas Racing. They're going to be running as well as Yates engines. Yes, we know that Rick Ware Racing is a lot of the butts of every jokes throughout, from fans, from us, but it looks like they're stepping up their program.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe next year in the Cup Series, it's going to be the most competitive the Cup Series has ever been. I mean, of course, there's a new car, but there's going to be a lot of really competitive teams. And Rick Ware Racing, they're going to be better next year. They said that they're planning to go down to only 2 or 3 teams. They're not going to run all 4 teams next year. That's going to allow them to be able to put more money into each car. Of course, with the technical alliance with Ford Performance and Stewart Haas, they're going to have better equipment right there. So Rick Ware is going to be very competitive next year. And, I don't know if they're going to be able to go out and win races, but I think that, there's a good chance that we're going to see them more in the top 20, top 15.
Yeah. And of course, that's the second team that Stewart Haas is aligned with. Remember, they also have a technical alliance with Team Live Fast. Of course, Matt Tiff's been a regular on this program, so we'll have to get him back on to see what Team Live Fast has been up to. So there. Okay. There were some big stories this week. Also, before we get to those 3, let's get to today's news. This morning, one of the most longest tenured sponsors in NASCAR, Interstate Batteries, has re-signed with Joe Gibbs Racing. Of course, they were the first sponsor of Joe Gibbs Racing when they first were founded back in 1991. So they'll be sponsoring, I think, 6 races with Kyle Busch, 3 with Ty Gibbs in the Xfinity Series. A lot of interesting stuff, long partnerships, and I think Joe Gibbs Racing just confirmed that Ty's going to be running Xfinity next year.
Yeah, absolutely. But with the way that he performed this year, I mean, there's no way to think that he wouldn't run Xfinity this year or next year. I mean, he only ran half the schedule, has 3 wins on a couple of very difficult courses, or a couple of difficult tracks, 2 road courses. So, I mean, next year he's going to come right in. He's going to be able to compete for championship.
Speaking of championships, of course, the ARCA Menard Series Championship is next week at Kansas. And, of course, Ty Gibbs is got a very, very comfortable lead over Corey Heim, and likely will get that championship for that team. So let's get to some other news stories this week. A couple that have been really, really surprising to the both of us.
A lot going on this week.
It's the end of the season there, bud. This is if you've known me, you haven't known me long enough. So if anyone that knows me knows that I love silly season. I love when teams move around and stuff. This is fun to keep up with, or maybe because I know all the moves already. 2311 and Front Row Motorsports, of course, they were in charter negotiations. Bob Pockers from Fox Sports said that the talks have subsided, and it looks like Front Row has walked away from the table. It's a surprise to most people. Front Row may keep their charters and may run 2 cars next year. So this is a big deal for your front row. But 2311 once again is looking for a charter.
Yeah, and I'm not entirely sure. I think there's two options really, and I think for 2311 it would have to probably be either Starcom or Rick Ware. Those are the teams that news has came out that both teams are interested in selling the charters. Of course, we knew that front row was in talks with 2311, but this year they've been the most competitive they've ever been. They've gotten the most funding they've ever gotten, especially because of Michael McDowell's dream season, winning the Daytona 500, going to the playoffs. And it doesn't surprise me that they kind of backed out of selling a charter, knowing that hey, they can go into the next season and continue to have better equipment and continue to have funding. So why not? Michael McDowell said earlier in the season that front row wants him back if he wants to come back. And of course, the other question is Anthony Alfredo. Is he going to come back? Is who's going to drive the 38 car next year? But it doesn't surprise me. But when you look at 2311 and GMS, options are running low for where they can get charters from.
And of course, Starcom. It was reported that Starcom was going to sell their charter to Spire, so that could be an avenue where they go. So you don't need a charter. It would be nice to have a charter. So,
and it'll be helpful next year though with qualifying back. I mean, it's not really going to quite be a Ryan Preece situation where you have to qualify under the Daytona 500 and run really well to be able to make it in every race with the formula. So even if Ty Dillon in a 94 team for GMS can't get a charter for next season, they're going to have an opportunity to qualify into each race, and they should have the speed to be able to get into every race. So I don't think it's a huge worry for them, or even 2311 if they can't get a charter on making sure they can get into every race.
Yeah, for sure. And I was told expecting. I know Front Row was working hard to try to get their plant set up. Expect an announcement from them hopefully in the next few weeks. That's what Jerry Freeze told me earlier when we talked before the Talladega race. So good stuff there. Two more surprising announcements for you. BMR, Bill McAnally Racing. They're going to be running Chevrolets next year in the Truck Series as well as the ARCA West program. They also formed an alliance with GMS. They'll be working out of the GMS shop. This is a big deal because this is a team that has been with Toyota for a very long time. Of course, we know Colby Howard will be driving for them next year. I know the team is also working on trying to get Derek Kraus re-signed. But Nathan, this is another team that is leaving the Toyota camp, and this is a big blow to Toyota.
Yeah, I'm not 2311 Racing. I know I kind of circle back to them a little bit, but what they bring to the Cup Series is another Toyota team. I mean, right now, next season there'll be 6 Toyotas in the Cup Series, and that's for them. That's kind of a lot. I mean, up through 2020, there used to really only be 4 competitive Toyotas, and that's just your 4 JGR cars. And Toyota, they always seem to be very strong in all 3 series, or even all 4 series if you want to throw ARCA into the mix there. But it's very interesting how they can't seem to get a ton of Toyota rides though. I thought Derek Kraus he held his ground for the most part in the Truck Series this year, but we'll see what happens though. I mean, maybe they think that they can get more competitive equipment with Chevrolet, so we'll just have to see. It was a little surprising, but I'm interested to see about I guess if Toyota can get anybody to switch over to them here in the next couple of years.
Should be interesting for sure. Speaking of Toyota and the Truck Series, John Hunter Nemechek confirmed yesterday that he will be staying in the Ford truck for KBM. It was a little surprising to a lot of people that he wasn't going to move up to Xfinity, but as many people say, and if you've known this business for a long time, it's how much funding you have to get there, and he had enough funding to stay in the Truck Series. And it looks like I think he want from talking when he was on Sirius XM yesterday, it sounded like he wanted to stay in the Truck Series again.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been, a situation like Sheldon Creed was talking about this weekend with his status with RCR. He mentioned at their announcement on Saturday that he had the opportunity to move up to the Cup Series for, for a C-level team, and he didn't want that. So maybe John Hunter had that opportunity with the Xfinity Series or even the Cup Series where he can move back up and drive for another C-level team. But maybe he decided that, hey, I'd rather stay in competitive equipment. I'd rather have, I guess competitive sponsors, if you will, and be able to run for a championship again.
Yeah. Also, there's a lot of things going on this weekend with Texas Motor Speedway coming up. What are you specifically watching out for this week?
In the Cup Series, I'm interested to see. I'm always interested to see what the 550 package does. I'm an outspoken hater, like a lot of people are, of the 550 package, and as the 2022 rules package started to kind of trickle out, it sounds like the 550 package will likely return next season on tracks greater than in size than Darlington. So I always like to I guess I wouldn't say overanalyze, but make sure I focus on analyzing the 550 races, because the past 5-6 years, or at least with this new car since 2013, the 550s and the intermediates have not made for great racing. So maybe there's only two 550 races left, this weekend and next weekend. So maybe the 550 will be different with a new car starting next year, but I always like to see what the 550 does. In the Xfinity Series, I just love watching the drama. I mean, there's so much great racing. There's drama every week. I'm always interested to see, what new drama is going to happen, what new battles are going to take place, and of course, all the round of 8 drama for both series.
Oh yeah, round of 8 starts this weekend. And guess what? Something I want to keep an eye on mentioned. Brad Keselowski has made it into the round of 8. I think that's the most surprising thing. If you asked anybody with the performance of that 2 team this year, I don't think a lot of people expected he would be there, but he's there in the round of 8. Of course, he's going to a new team next year. So, yeah, you got 3 Penske cars, you got 3 Gibbs cars, and 200 cars.
Well, I mean, when you kind of look at it, though, I mean, of the 8 guys there, I think you could argue that, I guess, with the exception of Keselowski, 7 of the 8 guys in there were probably the 7 best drivers this year. I think the 8th there, I think you could probably say Alex Bowman. He won 3 races earlier this year, but ever since that Pocono win, he hasn't really been the same. Brad, of course, has a win at Talladega earlier this season, but like you mentioned, has been very inconsistent. He said a few weeks ago, when they unload every Sunday, they don't really know what they're going to get. He could have a 5th place car, he could have a 20th place car, just the speed's not been there for that team. So, I'm not really expecting him to go to the Final Four, but I guess anything can happen. If they just hit on the setup once, they max speed for 1 week, anything can happen. They could sneak into the championship 4.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. All right, time for the picks. You know how this works. And it seems like none of us have gotten to win between the 6 of us. So we need to get going on that. The luck needs to turn around for all of us. I don't know what's going on. All right, let's start with Xfinity. Who you got? Are you going to take Austin Cindric just like everybody
I'm
else?
not going to go with Austin Cindric. I'm going to go with Noah Gragson, though. Noah Gragson and that 9 team, they've been really strong ever since the playoffs started. They hit, like, they started firing on all cylinders right at the right time. They won a couple races there towards the end of the regular season. They've been running really well in the playoffs. He almost won at Texas last fall. He got passed there on the last lap by Harrison Burton. So I think he redeems himself this fall and wins at Texas and locks himself into the championship 4.
I'm going to take Harrison Burton because yes, we know Joe Gibbs Racing Xfinity cars have not won this year. That changes this weekend. Harrison Burton's going to go out on top. Yes, he's going to a new team next year. Yes, he's going to go to the Cup Series. Yes, he's going to drive for a new manufacturer. But he's going to close out his tenure with Toyota with a win, and it's going to come this weekend at Texas Motor Speedway.
And I think it's important that he gets to win here in these next 4 races. I mean, in a sense, I think he's still got to show. Of course, he knows how to win, but like he almost has to show Wood Brothers and Ford and Penske that like he still knows how to win, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, Yeah, for sure. Okay. Cup race coming up Sunday, the Auto Trader Echo Park 500 at Texas Motor Speedway. Who you got?
I got Rowdy Bush. He's Texas has always been a great track for Kyle. He's won 4 times in the Cup Series there in the last 8 seasons. Won the Xfinity race here in the spring. I think he's gonna get done this weekend.
Yeah, I'm gonna take I'm gonna take Kyle Larson this weekend. I think that team's just on a roll a little bit, and I think that 2 team gonna get it done. I mean, no, wait, would
5 team.
The 5 team? Yeah, never mind. It's been that kind of week for me. Yeah, Kyle Larson is gonna get it done. Hey, it wouldn't be surprising if Brad won. That'd be cool. So yeah, all right. Well, that's gonna do it for this weekend's preview show. Nathan, thanks for joining me as always.
Anytime.
We will catch you next weekend. You never know. Our return of cast of characters could be back. We'll talk to you after Kansas. Enjoy the race weekend at Texas.